And we're live again. Good afternoon, ladies, gentlemen, and everyone out there. Welcome to another episode of Dojo Live, connecting tech experts like you. And we're once again broadcasting live from the beautiful Mexico City offices of Nearsoft, and for one more episode of Dojo Live. And okay, well today, I'm sorry, I apologize for the delay. We were just working on something here, but today I think it was worth it because we're going to have a whole bunch of great stuff for you out there in our website really soon, right after the broadcast is over. Today we're going to have a special guest, Rohit Pursram, and he's co-founder and CEO of Activation Media. And today's Rohit is going to be talking about a kind of a unique and intriguing title for the talk that he chose is Finding Light in the Mobile Jungle. And this is about Ready to Ride, one of his most recent products that has been, it's innovating the mobile marketing solutions out there. But I think that Rohit is better suited to do the talking, so I'll let him do that in a minute. And also, I want to thank Matt Perez, our COO, who kindly he was willing to be here with us today. Thank you, Matt, as ever, and we appreciate you having both of you here. All right, so Rohit,
Great.
there you
Thanks.
go. Thank you for being here today, Rohit.
Thank you, Carlos. Thank you, Matt. Excited to be here and share my experience with what we're doing in the mobile space. I chose the title. I was thinking last night about what would be the apt title for this talk, and I chose Finding Light in the Mobile Jungle because looking back on what we were able to do, I still sort of stand in amazement and I'm excited by what we created because mobile is such a daunting space, right? If you just look at the numbers, there are 250,000 apps being launched every year and how crowded the marketplace is, and you only have 20 apps on your smartphone, it's a jungle, right?
Mm-hmm.
And being able to find a concept that is innovative, that no one has thought of before, and that adds value and is able to generate revenues and be successful, it's like being in the Wild Wild West, right? It's not the easiest task in the world. And fortunately, we were able to do that, right? We found light in the mobile jungle, and I'd like to, spend a bit of time and talk about our experience doing that, and really, share our sort of experience right from the beginning, right? How we went about this entire process, how we dealt with the concept stage, how we went past the concept stage to validate the concept, how we tested the product concept, how we figured out the pricing model, and then how we ultimately took this into being a successful a product and initiative that has won numerous industry awards. And so I think in sharing our experience with this process, my hope is that I'm able to shed light on some of the lessons that we learned along the way, some of the pitfalls that we encountered, and through that, provide some benefit to whoever's listening around anything they may envision doing in mobile right now or sometime in the future. So in summary, Ready to Ride has been labeled as being the most innovative mobile marketing solution the power sports industry has ever seen. Right? This is a quote that we were fortunate to receive, or praise that we were fortunate to receive by Power Sports Business, which is one of the leading trade publications. What makes this product truly innovative is the way that it truly is conceived from the ground up in a way that uses mobile to deliver value to everyone that it serves, right? And in doing so, it has been very successful in really changing the paradigm with how motorcycle dealers are currently engaging and connecting with their customers. And so, I'll talk about that in a bit more detail a little bit later on. But stepping back, let's just go to the start of this and how
Sure.
all of this came about.
Yeah.
Back in 2014, as we were thinking about the mobile landscape and we were thinking about industries that were really well positioned to benefit from mobile, we saw retail as being really high up on that list. Primarily because retailers, more so than other industries, really stood to benefit from being able to connect with their customers in a personalized way, right? As a retailer, if you were able to reach your customer with, a targeted promotion or a targeted, offer or alert, right, based on some information you had about them,
Hmm.
right? And more so, if you were able to then reach them at the right location where they happen to be coming near your retail store at a certain point in time, right? And then you were able to get them to act on that and come in and transact, right? That would generate value right there, right? So we saw that of all the industries that were positioned to benefit from mobile, retail was really towards the high end of that spectrum, right? And as we looked further in the retail market, particularly in the US, we saw a massive white space there. Just some numbers like 3 million plus retailers, right? And a very small segment of them had, taken the leap into mobile, right? Now, why is that? Well, a lot of the sort of talks and conversations with CMOs and CIOs with the sort of larger retailers revealed that they were really struggling, right, with keeping abreast of everything that was happening in mobile. It was moving too fast. They didn't have the money. They didn't have the resources. They didn't have the time. They didn't have the know-how, the capabilities. And so for the most part, the larger retailers were making a move and trying to do their best to keep up with it. But the vast majority of the market, if you look at particularly at the middle to lower end segments of the market, which account for a vast majority of retailers, right? These were mom and pop operators that were sitting on the sidelines, right? They just didn't know how to approach this. They didn't know where to start, right? And so as we saw this, we said, this is really interesting because no one had really figured out how to make mobile, right, as a tool and make mobile as a platform accessible to these small mom and pop, businesses, right? And as we spent more time thinking about it, we particularly saw that in industries like the motorcycle industry, where we ended up building the product that we're discussing, you had retailers that were mom and pops, but also had customers that were very passionate, right?
Hmm.
Inherently, as a motorcycle rider, you are passionate and you are engaged and you want to basically get everything that can make your motorcycle experience and your riding experience better, right? And so in essence, you were through that already being able to address the engagement issue because you had a customer that wanted to engage, right? And no one had really figured out how do you connect the dots between these retailers that are small and pop mom and pops that can really stand to benefit from mobile in a tangible way,
Hmm.
and these customers that are very passionate, right, and want to better engage, better connect, and can really drive value from being able to get very targeted promotions, being able to connect with the community, etc. No one had figured out how to connect the dots, right? And that's where we saw a really great opportunity. Now, as we went further in really thinking about the product concept and whether it was something that had legs and went through the process of trying to validate this product idea, first and foremost, we went back to a very simple concept, right? And that was can technology, and particularly mobile technology, be used in a way that makes life better? And that's it, right? Does it fundamentally, or does it have potential to fundamentally make life better for the motorcycle rider? And does it fundamentally have the potential to make life better for the motorcycle dealer, right? And if the answer to one of those is yes, or the answer to both of those is no, don't build a product, right? Because for this to fundamentally work, you had to make sure that not only were you delivering value for the motorcycle dealers, but you were also delivering value for their customers. And so as we started to give some thought to this, we stepped back and really thought about how can mobile add value and how can mobile make life better for both these constituents, very simplistically, right? And as we looked at sort of the life of a motorcycle rider, we saw that mobile had a lot of potential in terms of being able to add value to the motorcycle experience, right? And what we did was we saw some of the consumer apps that were in the market, right? That were getting a bit of traction, but invariably had difficulty and trouble scaling because they didn't have a great business model. But we saw like what were some of the features and the functionality for some of these products that were out in the marketplace. And secondarily, then we conducted a lot of sort of focus groups and validating market research, particularly with the millennial customers, to really think about, okay, how can mobile be used in a way that will make your life better? And through that process, we realized that there were a lot of things that that mobile could deliver in terms of value for a motorcycle rider, right? First and foremost, there was efficiency, right? The ability for a motorcycle rider to be able to book a service appointment on their mobile phone, right, and efficiently do that, right, was very valuable, right? They said this would be really, really beneficial to us, and more so if we got targeted alerts on when we should take our bike to get it serviced, right? That would be really valuable to us because invariably, the servicing of the bike was something that, people kept on top of it, but sometimes the timing slipped, and, that would be something that they would act upon if they knew that their bike, was due for a service appointment, right? So that was one of the things that we saw. Okay, well, from the perspective of service, that there was a lot of value potential here, right? The second thing that we saw as it related to the life of a motorcycle rider, there was really value in the community, right? This is an industry and an activity that is very community based and very community driven, and invariably the type of social interactions that mobile could facilitate were very different than what Facebook could do. For example, one of the things that we've ended up incorporating in the app, which is what we refine as being really a mobile native feature and functionality, is the ability for riders to basically track their ride when they go on a ride, and then be able to track their buddies when they're on their ride with them, because then, if someone's at the rest stop, if someone is, 10 miles ahead, they can see on the map exactly where their friends are. And in more so, they can then take pictures and share the ride, and, makes it somewhat of a social experience, right? So that was one thing that we saw as being very unique to what a mobile app can deliver as far as an end user experience as it relates to connecting the community. Right? What we saw over time, and these are some of the things that we envision adding into the app over time. The ability, for example, to find points of interest that have been posted by the community. For example, if you're a Harley rider, right, and you're in Vermont, and you want to find routes that have been posted by other members of the Harley community, that is something that in the phase 2 of our rollout that you'd be able to find from the app, right? And so that is something, again, that was unique to what mobile can provide as far as a user experience. And then, other examples of that would be sort of, location-based points of interest, like if you want to find biker bars that are near you that have been posted by the community. And so we really thought about, okay, well, how can mobile be used in a way that brings this community together in a stronger way and adds value to this social experience in a way that hasn't been achieved before. So that was the second thing that we saw as being really valuable and really exciting. Beyond that, there was also other features and functionality that was somewhat basic but valuable, right? Because when you go for a ride, you want access to weather information, right? So that's something that you can access at your fingertips. And also, we saw one of the features that surprised us, but again seemed to have a lot of demand, was a park your bike feature. If you're parking your bike at a mall, right, with one click you can register on a map where that bike is parked, so that when you come back from your shopping experience, you could use the app to exactly see where that bike is parked, right? So that was something that we saw was really valuable. So these are just some of the features. I'm giving you a sort of an indication of how we thought about using mobile from the ground up first and foremost to create value for the end user. Now, when I say that, the distinction I'm going to make is that as brands or retailers approach digital, right? What you often see happening is that they approach digital or mobile through the lens of their business, right? One example of that is fitness clubs. Fitness clubs that have created mobile apps for the most part provide very basic information about classes and schedules and things like that, right? What these businesses have not done is address the evolving needs and the evolving digital needs of their customer, right? So that's where you've got Under Armour and Nike and a lot of these third-party brands that have really stepped in to provide those digital experiences. So through the lens of the product that we're building, right, if you were looking through the lens of a motorcycle dealership, you could have potentially created a product that would just give you information about the dealer, give you the dealer's location, have you book a service appointment, etc., right? And that wouldn't sufficiently address the evolving needs of the end consumer, which have been transformed, really, right? And so for each business, thinking through the lens of how your customer will want to engage with digital, even though that may not directly be tied to your core business as you see it, is the right starting point. And is actually the crisp. Without that, you're not going to have the engagement, and without the engagement, you're not going to have the value that you want to derive, right? Because any sort of useful at all. So as we thought about again, the value proposition from the perspective of the dealer, we saw there as well that there was a big need, a big market need as a relates being able to connect and engage with their customers in a targeted way. This was an industry that, for the most part, that a lot of them had not even simple, PC solutions. So as we thought about how mobile can efficiency for them, we said, well, there's a massive potential here because a lot of these dealers are using very inefficient and outdated methods to communicate and engage and interact with their customers. What will shock you is to know the fact that a lot of dealers were in fact calling up their customers manually to get them to come to the dealership to come in for a service appointment. They were using email as an outreach or promotional tool, right? They didn't have a really great way to advertise and promote events that we're hosting at the dealership. So there was potential for a lot of value creation That said, one of the things that we learned in this process is that if an industry has not embraced technology, right, and it is primed for technology disruption, right, what you have to make sure is that you get the market timing right, right? Because if you miss the market timing and your customer is not quite ready to embrace and adopt what you are offering, right, even though it may be the right thing for them to do, your product's going to fall flat on its face. So being the first mover, right, that begs the question, if you're the first mover, how do you get comfortable with the market timing? How do you get some market data and feedback that gives you the validation that, okay, well, now's the right time to do something? Well, it's a little bit of an art and a little bit of a science, right? And the science part of it is based on, doing some, validating customer research, right? Because point blank, you can sort of say, is this something that you would buy? Is this something that you understand? And I'm going to get to that in a second, because one of the sort of mistakes that we made in the process was that while we were building this product with the live direct feedback of customers, right? We worked with a dealership out of Las Vegas. This is one of the largest Ducati dealerships, and got them to be our case study and give us direct input from the ground up, right? We sort of made the mistake of building in a lot of tools on the back end, like audience segmentation, like audience targeting, like things that you and I and a large sort of constituent would probably want to see if we were using the product, right? The problem is we're not the target customer. And as we went to market with this product that was rich and robust and had all this, great kind of precision-based targeting tools, right? We saw that, again, it wasn't something that the dealers understood or saw a need for or were interested in. So we had to go through the process of streamlining all of that. So again, the lessons there for us was to make sure, A, that the product is serving a need for the market, it's solving a point of pain, that the market timing was right, and making sure that your customer really understood what you were building, and customer was going to use it in a way that was going to drive value for them right from the get-go, right? And so as we sort of started to dig into that a little bit further, we saw that in creating a product like this, we had potential to deliver value for the dealers right at the outset, i.e., one of the great ways that we positioned this product as being, a driver of value for dealers was in its ability to drive service revenue. Mm-hmm. And we said fundamentally, if you were able to automate your reminders and provide, your customers with, alerts about when they should come in and get their bike serviced, given that you generate $40 each oil service change, 90% margin, you get a couple of those, a handful of those a month, you effectively pay for a big chunk of the app, right? And thinking of that through that lens is something that, got them to see this in a more tangible way as something that could drive business value. So as we went down the process of then further crystallizing the market, the concept for dealers and the concept for motorcycle riders, we then faced the challenge of figuring out, okay, well, we know conceptually that this product, mobile in concept, can add value to both these market constituents, but how do you create a product at an accessible price point, right? Because motorcycle dealers don't have the ability to pay $25,000, $30,000, $50,000 to be able to, afford something like this. And that's where we really had to be very innovative about how we went about creating this product. And we essentially we essentially built a one mobile app that would require very minimal customization on the point of the dealer, and it was one mobile app that would be pushed out to all dealers' customers. That was our brand, Ready to Ride, and once the dealer pushed it out to their customer, they would in essence get a location-based pop-up of all the dealers that were subscribed to the app. They would click on their dealer of choice, and it would lock in the dealer's branded user interface and that dealer's version of the app. And the dealer would then get a control panel through which they could provide very targeted, alerts, promotions, messages, etc. What that provided us is the ability to then offer this at a accessible price point where dealers would then, be able to just get a full suite of mobile, full suite of mobile tools for the consumer and the tools for them through which they could do a lot of very specific location-based targeting, promotions, etc. through a monthly subscription, right? And that was something that was essential in order for this to work. So we went from, again, figuring out the product concept. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question. So it's not clear to me, and maybe not clear to the audience. So is the application or the app, is it white label to each dealer? Or?
It's not white labeled. I'm sorry, I should make that clear.
Okay.
It's not white labeled. The way it works is that it is our brand. So when a customer goes to when a dealer subscribes to us, right? What they get in essence, they get a consumer-facing app that is branded to us, right? It's called Ready to Ride, and they get a control panel. What they do is they tell their customers to go to the App Store and download Ready to Ride. Okay. Once the customers have done that, they then get a pop-up of all the dealers that have subscribed to our product. So while the product is branded to us, once the customer clicks on the link for their local dealer, they then get the dealer's branded user interface. So on the front screen of the app, you will have the dealer's logo that pops up. So it's in essence, it's our product and it's one product, right? But it's branded to the dealer, right? And doing it that way allowed us to effectively have one product that was sold across the industry, right? Because one of the challenges with white labeling is that, fundamentally we wanted to avoid the pitfall of maintaining 1,000 different dealer apps, right? Because then you have to deal with multiple upgrades and software upgrades, and frankly, on the App Store, if you want to launch, you can't launch the same product with just a different brand. Each app has to be slightly different, right? So that creates a lot of costs and complexities and things on the back end that doesn't make this a valuable proposition. So for us, that was a really critical, a critical sort of step that we had to ensure that this had to be available at the right price point, and it had to be a product that was accessible to the dealer.
Yeah, that's why I asked. One of the reasons I asked.
Okay. Gentlemen, I'd like to pause just real quick for 1 second, and this is just to remind the audience that they can send us their questions. And it's very easily done now because we have an embedded chat. So please send us your questions. It's right there. It's very easy. And I have formulated my own set of questions, a couple of them. But I'd like to just ask you, Matt, if you have any other questions or things you want to mention to Rohit before we continue.
Well, I was going to ask him about the pitfalls, but he was talking about that. And the clever thing that they hit upon is this idea that if you leave it to individual dealerships, they're going to do a minimal kind of a thing. It's hard for them to invest in making a more robust app like these guys have done. So that's I think that's a very clever observation and what they've done there. The only question I have around that area is what are the major motorcycle brands doing? Are they doing anything like that? Are they what are they doing? Do you know? Oops, did we lose him?
Oops. Seems like we might have lost him. I mean, well, folks out there, it happens. These are the things that happen in Google Hangouts sometimes. So we'll just give Rohit a few seconds, and I'm sure he'll be right back in. So in the meantime, what I think it's interesting, one of the things that I consider interesting that Rohit was mentioning is, and this from the business development side, is that specifically the timing. So oh, there he is.
Sorry, I got bumped out of the Google Hangouts.
That's all right. We were just telling our audience here that these are the things that happen. So it's very common. So no worries. It's a good thing that we have you back though. Okay.
I had a question.
Oh yeah, please.
So I was mentioning to Carlos that I think your observation that individual dealers can't really afford to build a robust app other than here I am, come buy from me kind of app.
Yep.
And I think that's very clever. So the question was, what are the major manufacturers doing, like the Japanese manufacturers and Harley? Are they doing anything like that? Or
It will shock you that they really haven't figured it out. And if anything, so Harley has attempted to create an app, right? But what's interesting about this industry is that the independent retail channel operates very autonomously, and it does its own thing, right? So Harley doesn't necessarily have clout over what the retailers need to buy or not, right? So the Harley app is not widely used. It doesn't really have a lot of the things that I think they should be doing around connecting the Harley community, around giving them all the resources and the capabilities. And truthfully, as we think about the mobile opportunity for the OEMs, I actually think that the opportunity for them is one step beyond what we have built, because we've really built this product for the independent retailer, right? Mm-hmm. For the OEMs, what this could do is provide them with the ability for a lot of very specific location-based advertising and targeting, right? One of the things that we're going to be exploring as we go down the path is trying to be a part of the co-op programs for the OEMs, because if you can qualify as part of the co-op programs or the co-op marketing programs, then you can get the dealers to have some of this expense subsidized, right, by the OEMs, and that could be really, really interesting, because then it makes it, cost effective for them as well. But for the OEMs, as they think about the mobile opportunity, this product is built for delivering value for service retail. I think for OEMs, there's value in taking some of the tools around connecting the community and connecting their users, but really the opportunity of the play for them is to then figure out, how do I make this mobile app tied to my bike, right? And make it about the connected bike, right? Because then you could get a lot of valuable information and sensors and crash sensor detection and things like that. And that's an area that I think is very exciting, and we want to sort of be at the forefront of that. But we think that that the industry is a little bit a ways from that. And truthfully, back to something I wanted to say earlier in terms of assessing market timing. One of the things that we did was we looked very closely at what was happening in the auto industry, right? Because it was an adjacent market that is more technologically advanced, right? And we saw that, in effect, what you see happening there, and a lot of the themes about the connected car and connected experience, and truthfully, even in the sort of mobile space, there are products out there that are serving the needs of car dealerships in a similar vein that we built our product for the motorcycle dealership. But the difference is that as a car consumer, you're not really looking to connect with other Cadillac buyers, right? So we had an end customer that that was really about the community, and we had all these other things that enabled us to build something that was more robust and rich. But seeing what was successful in the car industry almost gave us some direction as to how we should potentially go.
Yeah, for example, something as simple that you mentioned, the notices for service and stuff like
Yeah.
that. I'll tell you, as a car owner,
Yeah.
when the first time I saw that in a car, I had that. It was a lifesaver because I've always been very bad about remembering when to take the car in and all
Sure.
that. So it was valuable to me, and of course I realized that it's valuable to a dealer because to me
Yep.
every time I go. So and going back to the connected bike, you're also an advisor and investor, I'm sure, in Prazzo, which is
Yeah.
a smart bike. It sounds.
Yep.
I'm sorry, smart bike, which is very similar to.
Well, I'm an advisor to two companies. One is Prazzo, which is in the connected car space.
Right.
The other is Smart Bike, and Smart Bike is actually using the Internet of Things, which is an interesting company because they basically have hardware that you can hoist on the back of a bicycle, right? And they have a mobile app on the front end, and it gives you a rear camera view on the front of your bike, and then it adds in a lot of the features around crash sensor detection, turn-by-turn navigation, etc., right? And then they're looking to potentially take that technology to the motorcycle industry as well. So that is really exciting, kind of an exciting play. You know, the Internet of Things clearly is, you know, where it's next at. So,
But it will connect to this. Was my
yeah,
question.
absolutely.
Okay.
But you know, that's the thing. I mean, truthfully, when we spoke with one of the large OEMs, who I'm not going to name, last year, right? It will shock you at how sort of, I don't know what the right word is, how sort of antiquated their, you know, their entire, they had just hired someone that was going to start to oversee their CRM and, you know, the analytics around the customer and collecting all the data. And so, you know, if someone's not even begun that process, you can't even start to discuss mobile until they're a little bit further along. So, you know, it's interesting because at a lot of these companies that are in industries that are you know, a little bit behind the curve, right, as far as technology adoption goes, and you know, for the most part are dealing with a core customer base that's you know, slightly older demographic, right? You know, you don't necessarily, you know, the key executives there don't necessarily perceive the sense of urgency, right? But there is a sense of urgency because, first and foremost, this is their way to be relevant and connect with the next generation of consumer. And that's fundamentally, you know.
Even the older generation, I mean, the thing that you mentioned about being able to connect with other riders in the same area, in the same bikes or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, as I heard that, I thought, this is like Pokemon Go for bikers.
That's it. Absolutely.
So it's a social thing.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't, at that point, age doesn't matter. By the way, Pokemon Go, everybody's out there doing it.
I've run out of Pokeballs, and so you know they keep getting me to spend money, and I'm trying to see how long I can go without spending any cash, but it's not going to be a lot longer. so that's
you latch onto that, which is it's a social group, a lot more social than cars, right? Because you're outside the vehicle, not inside the vehicle, and that's again another great observation, I thought.
And truthfully, you know, when in our conversations with these motorcycle dealers, what we saw that as I was saying, you know, that it's not a very tech savvy customer, right? But the difference was that even though a lot of them didn't, you know, adopt technology solutions, PC-based systems that would drive operating efficiency, for example, this was different because they knew that their customer had a smartphone, and they knew that their customer was with a smartphone when they were out on a ride with their friends, right? So they saw this, even though they didn't understand the technology and all the nuances, right? The two things that they saw simplistically was, one, that my customer has a phone, and if I want to reach my customer, that is where I need to be, very simplistically. And the second thing was that they had heard that, oh, my competitor can steal my customer while he's standing in my dealership, right? So now with geofencing, one of the things that we're implementing in the next phase is the ability for dealers that are on our platform and our product, they have the ability to then send a direct promotion to one of their customers as they're about to enter a competing dealership near them, right? So it provides them with a bit more competitive differentiation.
That's great.
So the net of this, I mean, we were excited to get the sort of industry recognition. I was telling you about the quote that Power Sports Business made, but we won the we were a recipient of the Nifty 50 award, and the Nifty 50 award is awarded each year to the 50 most innovative products released in the power sports industry across everything, like talking about gear, accessories, everything, RV, boats, agricultural. So that was great. And then we were also a designated finalist for an Appy Award when we were one of 3 finalists in the business category. And there are about 1,000 apps nominated every year, and there are 50 finalists. And so we were one of 3 finalists in the business category. So that was very exciting to get that recognition.
Congratulations.
So thank you. And there's more PR and press and that on the way. And so our plans for where we want to take activation is beyond motorcycle. We plan to launch products focused on the RV and the boat, and a little bit further on the agricultural kind of tractor dealers, and then really build what is going to be the leading mobile marketing solution in the power sports industry.
Okay. I think Carlo has a couple of questions too.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, actually, well, I have 2, but I think I'm going to focus on one because we're about to wrap up today's broadcast, unfortunately. But my question to you, Rohit, is more in the marketing framework, and you mentioned something, and you mentioned it several times, which is the timing aspect of the equation, right? So in that sense, what I'd like to ask you is, okay, let me go back to the title, or to the analogy of the mobile jungle. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a jungle out there. So as you can see, there are lions, there are wild beasts, there are totally harmless animals out there, creatures. So there's a whole bunch of creatures out there in the jungle, right? So using that analogy, what I'd like to ask you is, I'm sure that what part of the food chain do you consider that you're ready to ride is right now, in terms of the benchmarking aspect? For example, I know that there's SkyMotion, there's MotoGP, there's Road Trip. So in terms of that, what do you envision that to be, that would be like the elements that would make Ready to Ride out to the highlights of Ready to Ride in the benchmarking part of the equation?
Yeah. So let me answer your question. Are you saying that as we look to evaluate the success of Ready to Ride, what are sort of the key metrics and benchmarks we're going to be looking towards to see whether this app is successful or not, in terms of the number of road trips taken, the number of it's a great question, because truthfully, on some level, it has to be a somewhat of a moving target, right? And so what we're trying to do is, first and foremost, be really on top of listening to how our customers, and when I say customers, it's not just the dealer, but also their customers, how they are actually using the product, right? And some of the things that we've learned have surprised us on a certain level, because, for example, the Park My Bike feature is one of the things that has been really the most exciting, right? With the right tracking, truthfully, the engagement has not been as great as we had wanted to see, and I think that is because some of the things that are coming out in product 2.0 are going to be driving greater sort of engagement there when you've got points of interest and things like that. So what I would say, without trying to dance around your question, Carlos, is that we're looking at macro level indicators right now as metrics. So we're looking at the number of times that a user is logging into the app a week. We're looking at average session length. We're looking at the number of modules within the app that they're interacting with. They're looking at if they're saving an event that they're going to, are they booking a service appointment, are they communicating with the dealer? We're looking at those macro level trends, so we can then understand which one of those features we want to build out more robustly. And then I think in the next phase of the sort of assessment, we're going to be looking at more specific metrics, because right now it's about focusing on the dealer, making sure the dealers get their customers onboarded onto the app and are staying there. And then, in phase 2, we're going to make sure how to actually make this much more robust so that customers, treat this as being, indispensable to their, day-to-day lives.
Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you. And I'll jump into the next one because we have little time. Is the second question is in the behind-scenes aspect of your operation, and when it comes to building a great product, at least here on this side, here in this office and in this company, we're convinced that in order to come up with great products, we need great teams. So what do you consider to be a great team, or how would you assemble your best team in order to come up with a great product?
It's interesting because I've actually learned a lot through this process of the past 2 years about what makes sort of a team member great, and I think that first and foremost you need to have aptitude, right? Because if you're trying to you're trying to get someone that just doesn't know how to draw Picasso, like that's just not going to work, right? So you need a baseline level of aptitude, but above and beyond that, I think that someone that is starting with a blank canvas and that has passion and that is able to actually mold and adapt to the team dynamic, right, is going to be much more effective in the overall outcome than someone who is on paper perceived to have the sort of level of experience and a more well-suited sort of background per se. So my experience is, I'm sorry, what'd you say?
So we definitely agree on that.
Yeah. So in that sense, I've actually paid less attention to someone's specific work experience. I pay attention to their skill set. I pay attention to their aptitude. I pay attention to their attitude, and I pay attention to the level of passion. And truthfully, the folks that are most successful with what we're doing, because what we're doing inherently, there's a creative element and there's a technological element in all aspects of what we do, right? So someone that just has that general aptitude and has the left brain and the right brain, right, and is able to actually engage on both those levels has been people that have typically been more successful.
Okay. Absolutely, yeah. That was a great answer, actually, because I'm listening to you, and I definitely relate to what I see here on an everyday basis at Nearsoft. Okay, Matt, we're approaching the final minutes of the talk, so do you have anything else for Rohit?
No, not off the top of my head. I obviously wishing Panu success, and
thank you so much.
I think they hit as he said, a white space in the market that's significant. He's not selling roller skates. These guys are selling motorcycles, which are very expensive, by the way.
Yep. Awesome.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, we need to wrap up today's broadcast, and I want to thank Rohit Pursram for having agreed to be here with us today. Thank you so much, Rohit. We're going to be in touch. I think I mentioned this. We're going to be sending you one of these and a couple of other things that I mentioned in my email. And and Matt, thank you again. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Really enjoyed this. Thank you so much.
We're going to be in touch. Thank you so much.
Talk to you. Okay, bye.
Thanks, bye.